everyone, it's Hannah at the Barkman branch, and I'm here again with Miss Princess. Thank you. And today we are going, well, maybe just me, are going to show you how to make mozzarella stuffed Parmesan dinner rolls. These dinner rolls are going to be super yummy. I wanted to bake something savory for a change, so I hope you enjoy them. Do you have anything you want to tell people? She usually doesn't like being held, but she's pretty calm right now. All right, I'm gonna put Princess down, I'm gonna wash my hands, and then we will get started with the dinner rolls. Here are the ingredients that you're going to need for the dough of the dinner rolls. And after I show you these ingredients and equipment, I'll also show you what you need with the cheese, with the egg wash, and also with the topping of the dinner rolls. So to get started, you're going to need 2 cups of flour and also 3 cups of flour. We're going to be adding these at different times, so it's important that you have them measured out differently. So make sure that it's separated into 2 cups and then 3 cups. The next thing you're going to need is 2 tablespoons of yeast. I have right here quick rise yeast that I wanted to show you. So there's a couple different kinds you can use. You can either do quick rise or active dry, and the only thing that changes is a little bit of how long you have to let the yeast sit and bloom. So you can use either kind of yeast for that. You're also going to need 4 tablespoons of sugar, 2 cups of warm water, 1/3 cup of olive oil, and 2 teaspoons of salt. If you have dry milk, you can also add 3 tablespoons of dry milk. I don't have any, so I won't be adding it in, but it is optional if you would like that. And the last piece of equipment, or the piece of your equipment that we're going to need is either a stand mixer, hand mixer, or your hands. If you have a stand mixer or a hand mixer, make sure you have the dough attachment with it. And if you have your hands, make sure you keep some extra flour with you because this dough is pretty sticky and you'll need to make sure you have lots of flour while you're kneading it. Now I will show you what you need with the egg wash, the topping on top, and the cheese. Now we are getting into the really delicious part of the ingredients. So what I have here is mozzarella cheese and also Parmesan cheese. If you can, get the shaved Parmesan cheese where it's like nice large chunks and flakes instead of the really shredded Parmesan, but either one will work. So that's the cheese that we'll be adding to the dinner rolls. Then you're also going to need an egg wash. All of my ingredients for the egg wash are right here. So it's 1 egg, and then I've put in 3 tablespoons of water along with the egg. Then on top, what we will add at the very end when our rolls are all baked and delicious, we'll add 1 stick of butter. I'm going to melt this later on, so it will be melted butter. And then also our seasonings. So it is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then parsley and garlic powder, and you can add those to taste however much you would like. Now that we have all of our ingredients and equipment, we can get started with our mozzarella stuffed Parmesan dinner rolls. This recipe is from Mariam's Kitchen on Instagram, so thank you so much, Mariam's Kitchen, for letting me try this delicious recipe. Her Instagram is amazing. Just every single post makes me so hungry. She makes the most amazing food. So if you would like, I will put her Instagram down in the description box so you can make sure to click on her. And again, thank you so much, Mariam's Kitchen, for this delicious recipe. Let's get started by putting together our ingredients for the dough. So if you have a mixing bowl that you're using, or sorry, a stand mixer that you're using, make sure you use the mixing bowl that goes with your stand mixer. And you're going to put in 2 cups of flour, your yeast, your sugar. If you have it, now is the time to add those 3 tablespoons of evaporated milk and the warm water. Ooh, it smells so good already. It has that nice yeasty smell. And I said evaporated milk previously. I meant dry milk. If you have dry milk, now is the time to add it in too. So if you are using active dry yeast, you need to let the yeast bloom. So what you're going to do is cover your mixing bowl with something just like a tea towel or some paper towel, something like that. And you want to let it sit for 10 minutes. That's going to allow the yeast to bloom with the sugar and the water and make sure everything, it gets all activated and yummy and ready to go. Since I'm using a quick rise, which is used a lot of times like with bread machines, I don't need to wait for it to bloom. I can just keep adding things because the yeast is already activated and ready to go. So you've probably either waited for 10 minutes or are all ready to go like I am, and we are going to add in the last of our ingredients for the dough and then knead it all together. So now we are going to add the 3 additional cups of flour. We're also going to add in the olive oil, and then you want to add in the salt at the very last. And you can get it situated in our stand mixer or hand mixer. If you're kneading by hand, you probably want to stir it a little bit more with one of those silicone spatulas before you pull it out and start kneading it with your hands. Otherwise, you can get situated like that, and now you're going to have it knead for 10 minutes. We now have one gigantic, beautiful kneaded dough ball, so we can go ahead and form our individual dinner rolls and stuff them with mozzarella cheese. So go ahead and lightly dust your countertop with flour, and we are going to separate this dough ball out into 14 dinner rolls. Now I have made something previously from Mariam's kitchen, and believe me when I say you do want to separate out the dough into as many parts as she says. I made some cream cheese danishes, and I only separated them into, I think, 8 danishes, and they were like this big. So they will rise more, so don't worry if they look small now. Make sure you separate it into 14 dough balls. So I'm going to grab the first one, and you can kind of add to them as you go if you notice you want them to be a similar size. So if you notice that one is really big or one is really small, you can add some dough to it. But what we're doing right now is just grabbing some dough, and we want to make it flat because we're going to put some mozzarella in it. There's no specific amount that the recipe dictates, so however much you want. I've heard before people measure cheese with their heart, so I can say measure this with your heart. Put in however much mozzarella you want in your dinner roll, and then go ahead, I'm going to put a little more. I like cheese. And close it up. Stretch the dough over it. And then when you have a closed little pocket like that, you can start kind of rolling it into a dough ball. Kind of looks like a little cute little dim sum dumpling right now, doesn't it? It's going to be so good. Okay, so there's the process. I'll show you one more time. Then you can just set it down onto your floured surface. Let's do another one. Do it flat. Make a little pocket. Measure the cheese with your heart. And fold it up. Squeeze it together. Bless you. Say bless you to your neighbors above you. And roll it. Ta-da! Now this one's a little bit smaller, so I should add some more dough to the top of it. Or I'll actually add it to the bottom to make sure it's a similar size. Okay, so keep doing that for all of your dough. It should make about 14 dough balls, and I will be back once we have all of our dough balls ready to go. So now we have our beautiful 14 dough balls that are hopefully all fairly consistent in shape and size. I think the first 2 that I made actually are the biggest, but hopefully they'll all be close enough that they will cook together, bake together, and be fine. So now, once we have all of our dough balls made and stuffed, we are going to cover them and let them rise for 5 minutes. So I'm going to cover them with one of my favorite tea towels that says, "Made with love and a whole lot of butter," which is accurate. Everything needs to have lots of delicious butter in it. Okay, and I will be back in 5 minutes. While these are rising, go ahead and preheat your oven to 350. While the dough balls are rising and my oven is preheating, I also wanted to tell you about 2 pieces of equipment that I forgot to tell you about in the introduction. One of them is a baking dish, so something like this, that's kind of like a clear casserole dish. If you don't have anything like this, you could probably also use a baking sheet. And I just prepared it by spraying some Pam, so spray some oil or just rub it down with butter before you put the dough balls in it. The other thing I forgot to mention is one of these. If you don't have one of these, you can kind of brush on the egg wash and the topping with a spoon, but one of these little silicone brushes is really handy to use to apply both the egg wash and the spices at the end. So our dough balls are all rested and risen again, so let's go ahead and reveal them, and we're going to put them into our prepared baking dish, or a baking sheet if you don't have a dish. And they're probably going to push together and kind of connect together and be like a pull apart bread sort of deal, and that's totally okay. They will still be delicious. They might actually even be better because they have like extra dough attached to them. Am I going to be able to fit all of mine? Oh no! I'm going to have to use a little tiny baking sheet for the last 2. But let's go ahead and prepare these first. So go ahead and grab your egg yolk with the 3 tablespoons of water. I'm going to show you how to prepare the egg wash. You want to take your silicone brush or a spoon if you don't have one of these, and just stab it right in there, and then start swirling it around, and break the egg up. Mix the egg and the yolk all together with the water. And an egg wash gives a nice, beautiful glaze to the top of our dinner rolls. So now it looks something like this, and you can just go ahead and brush it over top all of the rolls. I'm really sad. I got so close. I had almost enough room and just not quite. You can also brush the sides too. Brush the sides of the dinner roll with the egg wash. And our oven is all preheated, so make sure yours is preheated to 350. So now we have the dough balls with all of the delicious egg wash on top of them. And I don't usually use up all of the egg wash, even once I put them on here. I'll probably have a little bit left. So if you're not against having some water in your eggs, I can suggest you making it into a scrambled egg just to use it up and make sure it doesn't go to waste. So now that we have our egg wash on, we are going to grab the Parmesan flakes and we're going to sprinkle them over top the dinner rolls. Again, no specific measurement, so measure it with your heart. I have some pretty big flakes, so I'm going to kind of lay them. But if you have little flakes or shreds, you could just kind of sprinkle them over top. This looks delicious. I am very excited. I think I'm going to double the cheese, add a little bit more on top, because why not? I have the cheese. Might as well. Beautiful. Now I am going to put these into the oven at 350, and you're going to want to bake them for 30 to 50 minutes. So start with 30 minutes. The dinner roll should look nice and golden brown. So if they don't look that way after 30 minutes, keep bumping up the time. So by 5, so bake them for another 5, check on them, then bake for another 5 minutes, and then check on them. Up to 50 minutes, that should be your max. Hopefully you don't have to bake it over that at all. So I will see you when these are all done and baked. Here are the delicious, beautiful mozzarella stuffed Parmesan dinner rolls. I am so excited to dig into these, but they do need a little bit of cooling. And I did put the other 2 larger dinner rolls onto a baking sheet and baked them along with them. And they baked pretty much the same. They stayed, was wondering if they were gonna squish out, but they stayed pretty compact and together. So I actually cut into one of those to make sure that it was all done and they were looking delicious and baked. So now while our dinner rolls are cooling, we're gonna go ahead and make the little seasoning topping for them. And the first thing we want to do is melt the butter. So get 1 stick of butter and melt it in the microwave and do it in 30-second intervals just to be sure you don't burn the butter. So we have our melted butter here, and now we're going to go ahead and add the spices. So it's the little bit of salt, garlic powder, and parsley. If you have fresh parsley, feel free to use that instead. And as much as you want, again, measure it with your heart. And put it into the butter, and then we'll use our silicone brush to just kind of brush it around. Make sure it's all mixed together. And now here comes the fun part. Are you ready? I'm just gonna do what we did with the egg wash and put it all over the top of the dinner rolls. So here we are, the mozzarella stuffed Parmesan dinner rolls all done. It was quite a lot of butter. The tea towel was not lying. So you might want to cut it a little bit into like 3/4 of a stick of butter instead of a whole stick if you are conscious about that, but I am not. I put the whole stick on there and it looks fantastic. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoy making these dinner rolls. They go with anything, especially since it's warming up. Maybe you could make these along with some barbecue. That sounds really good. And before you go, let me shift it and I will show you what it looks like on the inside because it's too good to not see on the inside. Here we go. Oh, actually I think I might just pull it. And there you go. There's your cheesy goodness and your cheesy goodness on top. And I hope you enjoy these. All right, I'll see you all next time. Take care.